Welcome to Oregon Voters Digest, the program that brings forward the social and political issues that are important to people living here in the Pacific Northwest. And now, your host, Bruce Broussard.
Welcome to this segment of the Oregon Voters Digest. I'm Bruce Broussard, your host, and as you can see, we're right in the midst of the campaign here in the state of Oregon, more specifically in the Portland metropolitan area, and there's a lot of things that are going around here. However, I could start off by talking about the coronavirus aspect of it. That's huge.
Yeah.
But in all due respect, there's another huge issue, and that is what happens after they've cured that piece. I'm talking about here in the city of Portland. We've got a major election here in this area. We've got the mayor, the largest city, Portland, Oregon. The largest city in the state of Oregon is Portland, Oregon. They're having a major election here. There's 5 seats, meaning that you got a mayor and 4 city council seats. And in all due respect, the entire office, the entire seating is really open for grab, because we just recently replaced one of the city council person with a person who just got there, and everyone else the seats are open. The mayor's seat is open, and then there's another sitting city council person. It's open, and then there are 3 other open seats.
That's right.
There's 3 other open seats. So we got a major situation, and we got some major issues, and I won't get into every city has issues, but the largest city in Portland, in Oregon, if you will, the major issue here for the state of Oregon is homelessness. It's homelessness, and that's going to be the discussion. And in fact, that is going to be the issue that's going to hopefully impact the leadership that we're going to be left with. And so it's very, very important to get the right kind of people to sit in those seats, because that's a tough issue. Besides the other issues that we're still faced with. But the homeless issue will tend to identify with everything. And what I mean by that is that media has its own focus because it has its own definition. You got me? And so consequently, they're basically following I call it the advertisers, so to speak. They're following the advertisers. They use things like fake news and things of that nature. But it is news, but the fact of the matter is it's a commercial news. You see, here at Open Signal, we are the people's news. The people that are mainly affected by a lot of the issues that are on here. For instance, and all due respect, and I'm giving this as a preliminary to let you know where we're going. And the reason why I'm saying it's a preliminary, because the last day for filing to run for those offices to get those leadership that we need is March the 10th, which is the first part of the week, which is next week, which is Tuesday, okay? And at that point in time, we're going to have more people running for those offices. Just to give you an example, and I've got some numbers here that I want to share with you. Right now to date, there are 15 people running for mayor of the city of Portland. 15. I predict that there's going to be another 5 or so that's going to be added to that particular list. That's the mayor's piece. For position number 1, there are 7 people running for that particular seat. For position number 4, there's 8. And for position number 2, there's 20.
Oh.
20. And basically that's the replacement for Nick Fisher's seat. The gentleman unfortunately had a death, and he's not there anymore. Very, very neat guy. But there's 20 different candidates aspect of it. Several of those candidates have not been certified yet. And there was about, I think there's 7 of them. But the bottom line is that, as you can see, we've got a number of people. And so the job becomes, how do you differentiate those folks, the ones who are serious enough to deal with the issues? Well, one of the things that I do here at the Oregon Voters Digest, I make sure that we vet the issues. Like I indicated as it started. We started out, it's homelessness, okay? And so that's where the key is. And so now my thing is that how can I set the stage up to get to interview the individuals that can relate to that particular issues as it relates to solutions. Because we need solutions, and that's really what the leadership is all about, the solution to this object aspect of it. So today's show is going to be talking to that first phase. And I looked on the list and tried to figure out, well, of the folks that are listed, try to identify those individuals that have the most access to the people as a whole across the board. And it just so happened that just two men, when I think about the ministry, I think those are the folks that are doing business every day, dealing with folks across the board. The solution as well as the folks who are impacted right off the bat, okay? And so it just so happened we have two people here today that I'm interviewing. We're going to be having a discussion. Two people who are ministers in their own right. These ministers actually are dealing with people every day. Every day. Again, from the solutions to the folks who are impacted. Because people, they have access to those folks. And that's how they exist. And so we're going to interview those folks. And then at the same time, I will be then going through the list, and we'll be doing the same thing with everybody that's on there. And this is what I'm saying is that I'm looking at a resume. You know, just like when you go to a job, and when you're applying for a job, what's the first thing an employer will say? Show me your background. How can you impact my business? Okay. Well, how can you? As one would say, how can you impact God's business? And that's what they're asking, and that's why they ask you to come to the pew. Okay. So that's basically what we're going to be doing, and so and then we've got Richard Carpenter. Richard has a show on his own. He has a producer's show, and he does his once a month. It's a once a month situation.
This Wednesday.
And this Wednesday coming, we're going to be doing a show there, and we're just going to be moving on these candidates. Hopefully, he's got 2 hours there, so we're going to be moving and he's going to sort of like set aside a show for 1 hour, and we're just going to go on and move the candidates to that particular piece, the ones who are available. So hopefully this particular group, the show that you see today, we're going to have another show comparable, and we're going to have these two guests on that particular show to get it on his show. See what I'm saying? Okay. So now that you've gotten the opening and you've pretty well have the direction that we're going to be going, now you know what the format is, and we'd like for you to please invite your friends and whatever. This thing's going to be on Facebook. It's going to be on in this particular case on Comcast, on Comcast channel 11 from 4 to 5 live, if you will. It's from the Portland area. And then those outside of Portland, we got a live stream on YouTube. And on YouTube, it's live. You can be looking at the show now, and that's 24/7. And then you've got Facebook. If anybody's on the same Facebook page here locally, you can be on that. Sometimes you can go from public to local on both of those endings aspect of it. And so if you're looking at the show for the first time, we were suggesting to you that you post this to your friends, and ask them to post it to their friends. And so therefore we can really get a wide range. And the reason why I'm making that point is that a lot of times money is always a problem when candidates are running for office. Well, in some cases, some of the candidates who can really be of a positive nature and really contribute, the ones that don't have the money. And so we want to make sure that we're getting out of the arena of people buying their races. We've got a similar situation with our situation at the city right now. I just happen to know that young man. But the bottom line is that we need to understand that it's not about the money we're looking for. We're looking for leadership. Very, very important. We're looking for leadership. And that's kind of like where my head is. And so that's what we're dealing that piece. So with that, I think we can just go on and open up the show. I'd like to introduce the guests real quick, and give them a moment to identify themselves. We've got Reverend Pastor Minister, right? Michael Callahan, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, Michael Callahan, and I'll give him a couple of minutes to identify himself, and then we'll go to Reverend Willie Banks.
Yes.
And he'll identify himself. Okay, why don't we do that, Mike? Just real briefly, let's chat about yourself real quick, right?
Chat about myself, huh? Well, I'm born and raised here in Portland.
Okay.
Went to Alaska for 35 years. Been back here for about 15 years. That helped start Right to Dream. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I'm down there on 4th and Burnside. I was one of the 5 people that helped start that. So got some practical experience in housing. And I also have been building alternative housing for probably 20 years, something like that.
What about your ministry? When did you get into ministry?
Oh, hey, a long time ago.
Really?
A long time ago. Yeah, Mother Earth Church. With that, we started a free bicycle program in Anchorage that ran for about 15 years, something like that. And that's where that free food program got started too. With me
You
on
did
it.
a video on that. I saw that video. Maybe we'll run that. Maybe we'll be able to get that on Richard's show Wednesday.
Yeah, well, we'll
Really
just shoot them if they want to look at it
Yeah.
on YouTube. It's Governor Hammond's Alaska, number 5, episode number 5, and
Cool.
I'm the first one on there, and that was half a life ago.
Okay,
So-
good. We'll get that done.
Okay.
Willie Banks. I've been working here in the Portland area for about 50 years. I started back with the government, working for the government for 28 years. At that time, I started giving interest to those people that are out in the streets that are homeless. I've been working ever since, working with them and feeding them, clothing them, housing. In the housing program, I saved many homes for people of color in this area. And I'm proud of myself because I didn't charge them any money. I just did the job. I made sure that they had a place to stay, and I feel good about that.
And your ministry. What about your ministry?
Ministry, I've been in ministry for about 25 years. Started out with Bishop, the late Bishop W.G. Hardy. I was on his ministry
Reverend
for at least 30 years at Mount Sinai Church of God in Christ. He was a good man. He trained me, had me on radio and television along with him. And from there, I started branching out to do a work for myself in God.
Okay, so you have a church.
I have a church.
Okay,
yes.
okay, good. So now tell me now both of you are running for mayor, and you just go. Like I said, we're having a discussion now. We'll get right into the what do you see are the issues here in the Portland metropolitan area? You're running
Yeah.
for mayor, right? You're running for mayor. So what do you see are the issues? And that's okay.
My issue is I don't think that the peoples in Portland are seriously looking at the problem that we're having with the homeless. We talk a good talk and we walk a good walk, but when it comes down to really getting things done, I don't know. This is my feeling. They get the money that they need, the grant money they need, and then they disappear all of a sudden. And really, the people's out on the streets in the cold, and I just saw them in the cold and in the rain. How can anyone just go by and not have some type of consideration for those people that don't have a place to stay? And I said that I would do all, that was one of my reasons for running for mayor. I want to do all that is possible for me to help assist them and make life better for them. And we can't just flip them a coin or a dime or a cup of coffee. We have to get in and do something. I think I have demonstrated myself in working with these young men and women, and I want to continue to do that.
Okay, Mike, what do you think?
Well, it's kind of interesting. First of all, it started with foreclosures, 2008, and that bumped a lot of people out on the street, all the foreclosures. And I helped 17 people file lawsuits to stop their foreclosures. It's kind of an interesting process to go through. The system's stacked. Okay, and I didn't collect any money for it. Okay, every one of the people that I helped, and I went to every hearing. Every one of the people I helped lost in court, and not one of them was heard as to why their foreclosure was illegal. One, the worst case, this woman said, "But Your Honor, I made all my payments. I found my receipt." And the judge said, "Well, you should have put that in an affidavit." Kicked them out of their house, even though she'd made all her payments. Okay, so this is where it starts. Okay, and helping start Right to Dream gave me an idea. Dignity Village. You've been here for a while. They moved them. Okay, and you see that go on, and you see Kenton Village go on. This is the organic process of the people who live on the street to make themselves safe. Okay, when you're on the street, you're not safe. And that's the number one human value. And so a friend of mine said this the other day. I like changing words here, the unhoused rather than the homeless. And he said, no, they're all homesteaders.
Homesteaders.
Okay.
Interesting,
Yeah,
okay.
well, they came, I mean, hey, our great-greats, whatever. My great-great came out here to homestead, and he homesteaded. There was land available. Now there are all these homesteaders here, and there's no land available. Okay. Okay. So kind of one of our solutions, we got 4 solutions, and here's my hook on all this political stuff, okay, is we don't have any bottom-up decision-making process, right? It all comes top-down, okay? So we need an avenue for bottom-up. So that's what I want to create here. So with our 4 ideas, we put them on the table, and people, as soon as I get my website up, can call in and do a survey and say which one they like the most, or if they like all 4 of them, or whatever. So in my activism, I look for a 70-30 split. 70% of the people favor whatever it is you're doing. And getting it done isn't that big a deal. If you got a 50-50, you got a fight on your hands. Forget it. I don't want to do that. Okay, so the number one that I think is going to gain a lot of traction, everybody pretty much likes it, let people rent out their garages. Okay? Now, if they rent out their garages, who knows how many garages? There are like 370,000 housing units in Portland. So say there are 10,000 people that want to rent out their garage. Wow, man. There'll be a double effect there, which I like, okay? Somebody who is paying rent and just about ready with another rent increase to have to move out, they'll be able to downsize and save some money. Somebody rents out their garage, they'll be able to get some income and save them from being foreclosed on. So a couple of wins there. And the villages is another concept like Right to Dream. Villages 25 or smaller with a community agreement. They've got all these stipulations that go on. It's self-governing, and even junkies need a place where they're safe, and they can live without their junkies if that's how, And we had that at Right to Dream, but they kept it under control, and they started changing their behavior. And that's what you see at Right to Dream. God, it was amazing to see the change in behavior. People came there after 3 days, getting sleep, getting
Now,
clothes
how were
on.
you able, not being mayor, sitting in that particular seat? Land is at a premium now, as you know, in the Portland metropolitan area.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So how would you address that?
Well, I would ask the communities, okay, what we need is we need 300 of these, okay?
300.
300 of these
Okay.
25-person communities. Okay, so all these communities out there, we got 95 of them in Portland.
Okay.
Go out and find me 5 places. Okay, hopefully private property, because they can't mess with
Not garages.
they
Not garages now. You're talking about just.
No, I'm talking about this is villages. This is a different concept than garages.
Okay.
Okay, this is like a mini Right to Dream. We had 75 at Right to Dream, and it was too many people.
Okay.
25, you get tight with those people, okay? And this is kind of a side story. Right to Dream, we had the right to kick somebody out 4 different times in the 3 months I was there. And they wouldn't kick them out, because they knew that you go on the other side of that, you're not safe. Okay? But those people would change their behavior. Okay, to be part of the tribe, you're going to change your behavior. So you get 25 people that are really close, you're going to get a totally different community than now, where you get swept and scattered and fined and harassed and theft and beaten, all of these things,
But
that wouldn't happen.
Okay, good. I guess the point I'm making is that being mayor, and as you know, we got the city of Portland, and the county has to work together. They work together, and normally the properties of foreclosure is pretty well taken care of through the county.
Oh, sure.
They pick up all those foreclosures.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about you go out, you and your community go out and you ask your neighbor, hey, you got a lot over there that you're not using. How about we set up a camp on it? Oh, okay, that'd be
so
cool.
you'd be asking property owners. Okay.
Yeah.
Property owners.
Yeah, or if you You know, if we need 300 of these, look, now there's got to be some place in the parks. What do we got? 10,000 acres of parks land. I
But
mean,
you still
come
have
on.
to go through a process.
Oh, sure you do. Sure you do. But one of the things about it is that if you get people that want to do this, you get a 70-30 split, it's going to be pretty easy to get things done.
Okay, okay.
And anytime you do anything, it's not like you're going to go out and start 100 of these at once. You know, you're going to start one. Okay, and you're going to learn how it works.
Right.
Okay, and then you're going to build after that.
Okay, but that's an idea. That's a good idea.
That's another one.
How about
My
yourself?
version is
Reverend Banks?
I have 50 hut homes that I designed. And up on the bridge, I thought would be a good place to put those hut houses I designed.
Now you talking about these small houses?
They are
individual-
small, and we can build them for over $1,300 a piece.
$1,300.
$1,300
Boy, that-
on just timber that been set aside for no use. I got a design. I should have brought it a design.
13.
But here's another thing I was looking at. How many buildings we have in Portland that are vacancies that not being used? How many schools do we have that we have closed and the building is just sitting there? Why can't we go in and renovate those buildings and do a little work and put those people into those schools that are closed?
Well, but being mayor, if you were sitting in that particular seat, you'd have opportunity to have access to those facts.
I
You
need
just call
an
it building.
opportunity
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get in and do some of what I have already demonstrated.
Right.
Because if I could run this hut house and let you see, they are very simple. They don't take up that much room, and they are just fantastic for 2 to 3 people to live in.
Well, that's a pretty good point because I can remember going through hearings when I was running for the county seat, and it seems as though that at the Multnomah County, one of the commissioners had proposed actually building small units, and they voted on that for 7 of them at $75,000 a piece.
Really?
At
Little different
$75,000 a
there.
piece, okay? And I put it this way. Now here I am sitting today, and I'm trying to figure out where are those 7 houses.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Sure.
And they were going to put them in the backyard of a regular house, and then the kids said, naturally, person heard that said, well, what about my yard? You know what I'm saying? So I've never heard any conversation whatsoever about that. But my point is, it just it shows you that we've got folks that are out there that have no idea what's going on. You know, just come up with this idea: 7 houses at $70 to $75,000 a piece. You know, that's $500,000. No, that's $500,000 right there, right? You got me? And that's people's money because they go back to the voters and say, look, we need more money again for housing. But the key is that at the end of the day, you know, people don't know what has happened to my money. I mean, I want to reach out to the homeless too, but they like to see some results. I'm just throwing that as an example of where we are, and that's where we are today, because think about this today. When they talked about, for instance, they said the number of homeless in Portland, according, I just Googled this thing, from HUD, they took the HUD number for 2018. They said 14,000. Now, you hear the number here, and then you hear the number at the city of Portland or the other entities. It's bigger than that. In fact, the state, during that particular time, the state said their number back in, it was 2016, I guess, yeah, to 16, it was only 13,000. So if you got 14,000 in Portland, and you got 13,000 in the state, something is wrong.
Something doesn't add up.
Something is wrong.
Yeah,
See? So I'm just throwing that out to the table. That's going to be very important. That you know, if the mayor's office is supposed to know specifically what are we dealing with, which is one of the problems that we have, because we don't know really who's on the street. We don't know who's on the street, and we need to do a better vetting job to find out. Now, sure, HUD is there, and they can send people out, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm just throwing that out on the table, that's one of the major problems we have, because taxpayers are very much involved in the process. They're being asked on an ongoing basis. And a background, that's a very serious problem. because you got senior citizens and folks who have been living in their homes and they paid for their homes and they paid their dues, and they're living on limited incomes. And you know, every time there's a dollar taken away in one way, shape, or form, all of a sudden that's what gives way to, i.e., foreclosing on their properties. Then they have to move in with their families and things of that nature. And then the way the process works with the county, once that foreclosure goes, it's not given to another family to be housed. And some of the stuff that you're talking about, the vacant houses, no, it's put on the block, selling block at the county. And if you don't have any cash money, you can't buy it. So they auction off the property. They might just pay the taxes. But if you don't have cash money, you can't do anything. So what happens with that? You got another individual that will get the property and flip it. Might buy it, pick it up for $5,000 and flip it for $15,000 or $20,000. So we're not putting it back, if you will, in an inventory to counter some of the things that are happening with people that are already in housing or really need housing. And I'm just throwing that out there to you guys who, you know, if you're running for the mayorship aspect of it, that's something that we need to know. We need to know. We need to change the criteria for closure.
Okay.
You know, now something Willie
Does
mentioned.
that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, sure. Something Willie mentioned is about the empty houses. Okay.
At the buildings.
Yeah. Another
They
proposal
foreclose
that
those
we
too.
have, it's gaining a lot of traction, is if a place is vacant for 3 months or more, fining it $100 a month per bedroom.
That's interesting. So
Yeah,
you'd find the corporate entity.
Or whoever owned it, yeah. If it's not owned by somebody who lives there, then they should pay. You know, we need to increase the housing availability.
Okay.
Okay. And there are a bunch of vacant places. Look at Southwest, those great big tall towers there. You know, hey, they're on like a 6-year profit plan. After 6 years, they'll be getting a profit. So they're holding the price of the condos they're selling high. Okay, so if you get all those other condos, that 20 or 30% that isn't being sold is being held. If you start taxing them, they're going to start selling them, and they're going to lower their price so they can sell them.
Now you do understand, Mike, that when you're proposing that kind of situation, you got to have 2 other votes when you're sitting on city council.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. But my deal about it is we got a 70-30 split. Get 70% of the people that are on the council will go along with it.
Okay.
You know, and that, you know, and maybe it'll only be 60% of the people, but
okay.
you know,
But the idea is there.
right, and this is just being proposed right now in New York, for the vacant storefronts, and in California, it is a bill that is before the legislature now. So this is another way.
You said 3 years or 3 months?
3 months.
3 months.
Yeah.
Now, what about the new constructions that are being built?
Well, you get a certificate of occupancy once all your stuff. You're on a construction loan until you get the job done, and then once you get the job done, it converts. Once you get your certificate of occupancy, then your loan converts to a standard loan instead of a construction loan. So you have motivation to get your job done.
Now, you do have a housing authority of Portland, and a lot of times people normally go and sign up. If you know, there's certain criteria, you know, meaning that they have to meet certain criteria. They have to fall within a certain financial range and things of that nature. And that list, it's my understanding, there's a lot of people still waiting, if you will, for occupancy aspect of it. So you'll work on that list from the standpoint?
No, basically, you know, if we were to dump 10,000 rental units on the market, say that this was right, there are 14,000 vacant units, and so we were to apply this tax, and so everybody says, oh no, I'm going to get rid of my units instead of paying this tax. Okay, so 14,000 housing units come on the market, that's going to make a big difference. A huge difference. All these people that are living at this level, when this comes on the market, they'll move up because they're new, right? Okay, so then there's going to be all this ratchet up effect. Yeah.
Well, I like the idea, but at the same time, we do have a housing authority of Portland in the system. Hopefully you would take the people that are already waiting, because they've been vetted. You know what I mean, from the standpoint.
Right. Sure.
Because you know, owning a home is not just moving in. Because a lot of times people have to be responsible for it. You know, home ownership is not just
No
renting a place.
kidding. Yeah.
You see what I'm
Not
saying?
just giving it.
It's a lot of work.
And you have neighbors too. See what I mean? You got community. You see, because that's one of the problems that we have here in the city, because look at how look at the environment that we're living in now. We got trash being thrown all over the place, and in all due respect, the folks have kind of lost they've lost that sense of responsibility. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because a lot of times the homeless guy right now, he's just so frustrated and stressed out. They'll take a cart from a store or whatever and put a bunch of stuff in it, and they got the tent. Yeah, you're right. You got to have some cover. But what happens is they just throw it out on the ground. You know, just throw it all over the place. So my point is that that's something that should be part of the vetting, to make sure that people know. And that's what I'm saying with the Housing Authority of Portland. If they go through that vetting, i.e., and part of their so-called seminar or whatever, to tell them, well, these are the things that we're going to expect of you, if in fact we give you the opportunity to move into housing. You got to keep the place cleaned up. You got, you got your neighbors and all that and kind of good stuff. And I think that's a good system.
Oh,
Because
sure.
At least it's sitting there. And I like the idea. The key is that naturally you got to pass the ordinance through there, and then these developers need to know what's going on. We got to make sure that, from a future standpoint, that if they build these houses, and they got these high rises, they know for a fact there's a clock there. If you haven't filled that deal once you've completed that piece of property, within 3 months they're going to fill it up with a Housing Authority of Portland. I'm just using that as an example.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Because we want something kind of definitely to be concrete, but making sure that we can clean our city up too.
Yeah, well, if you allow people, if you allow homesteaders land where they can build their house. Now, I'm presently living in a 4 foot by 4 foot by 8 foot.
Wow.
Okay, 4 foot high, 4 foot wide, 8 foot long. Got 2 shelves in the back. I built it out of a dumpster. Okay, it didn't cost me anything. Okay, it probably cost me about 7 hours to build it.
Wow.
Okay, and like I say, I mentioned to you earlier, I do alternative housing design.
Right.
And so this to me is the most, I've been living in this now for 2 years.
Really?
Something like that, yeah.
But what about bureaucracy? I mean,
Whoa!
did you have to pick up a?
You shouldn't swear on television.
But in all due respect, we got a lot of folks out there that listen to what you're saying. That's a good deal. But the bottom line, what did you have to go through? Did you have to go to the city and get a permit? Or,
Something tells me the answer is no.
I'm just, but that's what we got right now. I don't want them to say, maybe you shouldn't share that with them.
Oh no, man,
tube
they're
right
all
now.
over me. They're all over. Hey,
They're
I've
all
been in
over you?
litigation with them for 9 years.
Really?
Oh yeah,
And you survived though for 9 years.
yeah. Oh yeah. They harassed me for years and years and years, and I just kept adding on to the lawsuit and
Now,
won in the Ninth Circuit.
that's a good example though. But I like that.
Wow.
Now, what about the land that you're on? I mean, is
Oh, you want
somebody?
to know about that too, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
So
You know
Mr.
the
Banks-
Lord works in wondrous ways, right? Okay.
Yes.
Well,
What do you do?
I call it the universe myself.
Okay.
But anyway, when I was helping people do foreclosures,
Okay.
I was living kind of upstream from the Ross Island Bridge down on the river. And I was doing land research because of the foreclosures, and I researched, and I said, well, why? There's this piece of property that has zero value. Zero value? Well, I've never seen that before. Let me look at it. So I looked at it, and yeah, here it is. Gosh, got zero value, huh? Well, it was transferred from one trust to another trust in 1960. All those people are dead. Trusts aren't recorded, and who would follow it anyway when it has zero value, right? Okay. So in Oregon, you can, after 10 years, you can get the court to declare you to be owner, so you can go to the city and you get title. So I'm sitting on a piece of land. I'm on my 3rd year now. And it's right under the Ross Island Bridge. It's bizarre. It's about like this, and it's
Well,
about 20 feet wide on one end and 220 feet long and 36 feet wide on the other end.
So that's that's available. That whole
Yeah, that's
tract?
my piece.
That's your piece.
That's my piece.
Oh, and you followed the process. You followed the process.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got my 10 years in. I got to get 10 years
But you gotta
in.
get 10. But then you gotta be there. But at least you're gonna be there for 10.
Yeah, well, I plan on it now. Who knows?
But they're still working on you.
Can we still use the bridge?
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's all right. That's all right. You got an easement over it.
It's interesting piece. But like I said, the point that you raised, and I appreciate that, is that there's processes. You know, you got folks on other side, like developers. You know, they use the city, if you will, to clean that stuff up,
Absolutely.
so they can build a high rise.
That's right.
You got my point?
Sure do.
And then naturally, depending upon whether or not you've got some legal support, if you will, you know what I mean, to represent you, sometimes you can get these folks on a what do they call it? Kind of where they just donate their time.
Oh yeah, pro bono.
Yeah, pro bono.
No, hey dude, I took 9 cases at the state Supreme Court in Alaska.
Well, you seem articulate.
I'm my own attorney, man.
Yeah,
I know.
yes.
I can read English.
Okay. but like I said, now remember now, you're going to be sitting in that mayor's chair if once elected. You know, right now, in all due respect, we've got.
Talk to me about that once the election's over.
But right now, see, we have 15 mayors right now
That's right.
until May 17th. Starting on after the 10th, we've got. It was going to be more, but my point is that you got 15 right now. But I say come the 10th, that's next week. It'll probably be about 20 people running. Mm-hmm. But at that point in time, we've got 20 mayors, including the incumbent.
Co-mayor.
That's right. These are mayors. See, so the name of the game. And then at the end of that deal, come May, and that's May 19th. That's the election day.
That's right.
And then we're going to either end up with 2 or 1. 2, if no one captures the 51%.
Oh, there's going to be 2. I mean, you
There's
got
gonna be
15 people in the race.
20.
20.
Yeah, see, and
Yeah.
so everybody's vying for the seat.
Sure.
But, so in all due respect, I look at it as being a fortunate time because everybody's got to have an idea about improving our city. And that's why I'm asking that question.
Good.
And that's why I'm saying you guys are. That's why we've invited you this way, and because Richard and I we're talk show hosts and we're not commercial. This is free time.
That's right.
We don't have the staff. This is free. This is the people's channel, so to speak. The other end are more commercial, and a lot of times what they will do, they're not going to interview the 20 or the 15 people. They may interview 3 or 4 who have the money.
That's right.
And in fact, they make that statement very clearly in these gatherings and whatever. They said, if you don't have the money, we won't invite you.
Oh.
You got me?
Yeah.
And I've seen that, and that's one of the reasons why we're doing the show the way we're doing it. And because I'm interviewing, but I know Steve Dunn at Channel 2, but he's got a staff of about 8 or 10 people, you know, and he's got about a $200,000 or $300,000 budget. You see, we have nobody. The budget comes out of my pocket for that piece, and the same
right.
thing for him. Okay, got me?
Okay.
But we're making the availability now, and we're making it very clear. We got 15 to 20 mayors on the 10th, and we're going to try to interview these people as much as possible.
Good for you.
got me? And it's live. It's not recorded, so that they can edit it. I see some of them edit it. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, sure.
To make sure that or they'll give you the questions. And they'll say, okay, fine. This is what we want you to answer. You know, is what's the price of milk? Well, what does that have to do with the homeless? You know, that kind of stuff. And I've been in the business long enough to know what the deal is, and that's why we need to give more than just 3 minutes. And like we're having this discussion, you know, the fact that it's not notes; these are resumes. See, we need resumes, and it's not. So everybody has a reason for wanting to run, and that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And you never know. It's kind of like a diamond in the rough. You never know. See what I'm saying? You got me?
Yeah.
So I think that's the process. And I think that at this time I'll give you another piece that came out as a result of some of the comments you made, is that we need an orientation process. Orientation from the standpoint of educate the public as to what the issues are. And we should do that across the board.
That's right.
And then out of that, people will come and file to run for that office. Got me?
Okay.
And then they should be given the opportunity of having an orientation. Like, for instance, now, the orientation should be made to the 15 or 20 people that are running to the city. They should have just an actual deal where they go to the city hall, and then there's a presentation to all of the folks who are running as to what it takes to run the city as a mayor. Who are the bureau chiefs? What do they do? That kind of a deal. Give you a little head start, and then after that's done, then all of a sudden you can run for office. because now you're able to address the issue, just like we're doing it right here. Homeless is the issue, and that's why we're talking about homelessness. You see, I mean, this is kind of the first show, meaning that because what happens a lot of times is that when you run the first time and you accidentally win, you OJT it, on-the-job training. And then if you don't know what you're doing, then you go back into another. Then all of a sudden you got to run another turn because you've learned half of what you should have known. then you see, I'm just throwing that out because we got the viewing audience, so we'll know so we understand where we're coming from.
Well, just follow the news, and you'll know what the problems are
That's
of
right.
the city.
That's right. But like you said, even when you follow the news, if you don't understand what you're looking at and reading, it takes time just to refine what you're reading.
Yes.
Because the folks who's writing it are journalists who are basically getting paid, and they've got certain criteria to what they're supposed to print. See what I'm saying? And the person who checks out what they interview, they don't know. So it's a tough situation, and I'm not trying to knock these folks. You know, they get paid. We got some serious problems right now, and we got to make sure we're discussing the issue.
Yeah.
And that's why you guys are so important, because you're ministers and you're seeing the plights and the hunger and the youth and this, that, and the other. And that's why when you come up with ideas, they may be strange to other folks, but they're real.
Yep.
Yes.
They're real, and they make sense from the standpoint, because at the end of the day, you've got some folks improving. You know, as you were making your points about the idea with the drugs and whatever, we were talking about that for a minute. I thought that was very interesting, but to the average person, because they haven't been orientated to it, they wouldn't understand. But yet and still, we have to deal with this every day.
Yeah.
People breaking in homes and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
Fair?
Yep. Oh, now let me run down a few 100%ers that we.
We're gonna give you 5
okay?
more minutes because I want to make sure we get the vets in there for a minute.
Okay.
All right, go on.
I'll do it quick. Okay. Everybody has agreed to these three things. That's why I call them 100%ers. A dime tax on cigarette filters.
A dime sack on cigarettes.
Cigarette deposit. Okay.
Deposit.
So when you go buy your first pack of cigarettes, you give them $2. You bring all your filters back, you don't have to pay any money anymore.
Huh.
Okay? And our slogan is, you pick your butt so I don't have to. Okay? Then the second thing that everybody goes along with is make it illegal to throw away dated food. All this packaged food is dated.
Right.
They throw it in the garbage. Make it illegal. Let's feed 1 million meals, okay, with a stroke of a pen. Just like that, okay? And the third one, to diminish drunk driving, I want every place that sells alcohol by the drink to have a breathalyzer available, stand alone. You're the only person that knows what the results are. But I don't know where 0.8 is. Okay, I want to know. If I blow and I blow a 0.9, I'm going to hang for a while and get something to eat, have a cup of coffee, do whatever until I'm legal. Now there's no way to find out whether you're legal. So those three got 100%.
Interesting.
Okay, so those three, if I were elected, actually what we're going to do is we're going to form a core group to enact these, okay, because everybody agrees with it. So, you know, maybe I can ride on their coattails. But another thing that we're very interested in is air pollution. Okay, and one of the ideas, you remember Tom McCall, of course, okay?
Tom.
And when he did that odd even, okay, it was voluntary, okay? No, nobody passed a law. He just said, hey, let's try this.
Which one was that?
When he said on the gas lines,
Okay.
Everybody waiting in these big long gas lines during the
Okay.
oil embargo, he
All right.
said, hey, only even numbered license plates fill up on even days and only odd numbered license plates on odd days.
That was a policy.
Yeah, well, he just said, let's do that.
Let's do it. And he
Everybody
did.
did it. All the gas lines dropped in half. Okay, pretty good deal, huh? Okay, how about we do that with automobiles? Okay, put it out to the public. How about we do that? Only on odd days you get to drive an odd license plate, and even days an even license plate. Cut the traffic in half. 70% of the people approve of doing that. Hey, well, let's try it voluntarily in July, okay? So, because there's going to be a whole lot of people need to ride mass transit, but then there are all these school buses that are available, so maybe we can try it and see if it works, and if it works, then we can, hey, man, we've got a prototype that can be copied all over the world.
With the understanding, you need 2 more votes, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, and yeah, no doubt about it. And then that's one of the air pollution things. And another one I feel pretty strongly about, and this takes a little explaining. You remember the tire fire that they had over here a couple of years ago?
Yep,
Okay,
exactly.
all that poison was put in our air. We didn't get anything for it. That's not right. Okay, any company that has any hazardous chemical on its site that has an unanticipated chemical release should have a cash available bond.
That's a good idea.
Okay, so hey, you do something like that, man, we're gonna clean it up and we're gonna charge you. And if you don't like that, you go to court and we'll have a jury trial and we'll find out what the charge is. But it's cash on the barrelhead. That down in L.A. they had an airliner that had an engine fault, so it had to re-land, and it was all loaded up with fuel. So it dumped its fuel all over L.A.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now that's fine. I mean, I understand that's and to save people's lives. Maybe that's the way to do it. But by God, you got to pay us for that. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Well, you got some ideas. You got some ideas.
Oh,
Mike.
I do. I got a lot of ideas. But see, these are ideas that I glean. Okay. That people give me. I'll tell you one that you guys might like pretty well. I haven't advanced this one at all. This is just
Real quick.
personal. Is that every judge, one day a year, should sit in a chair. Anybody that wants to can go up to him and say whatever they want.
You got 3 minutes or what? 4 minutes?
Well, yeah, you can limit it to 3 minutes. But
Well, this is a nice conversation.
yeah. Well, you can video. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you see where the long line was.
Oh, yeah, okay,
And I'll
okay.
tell you, that would change that person's behavior.
Okay.
They wouldn't play that
Well,
way.
gentlemen, I tell you what. Like I said, I want to go on and we want to get the vets in for about another 5 minutes or so. But this has been great, and we're just going to move on to Richard's show, come Wednesday.
Okay.
We're going to move on. What time was that Wednesday?
Well, the
What
one
channel?
where they want to come will be a little after 8.
Right.
That's right.
And we're going to record that one, right?
Oh, yeah.
You're going to
yeah,
record that
sure.
one. Then it plays again.
Same plays.
It plays again. Okay, good. Well, gentlemen, this has been great.
Good.
Well, you guys did a good job.
Yes.
And so I'll be inviting you guys back again. Trust me. But this is a start. That's why I want to start with some folks who had the background.
Mr. Bruce.
Yes, real
I
quick,
would
right.
like to find out, get into my computer and find out how many vacant buildings that we have in Portland that we could.
No, it's very, very
You
simple.
can't find it.
It- it-
I've tried to find it.
Yeah,
and
or better
I've
yet,
found a lot.
even better than that, better yet, you just tomorrow morning you just get your briefcase with your collar and go down to City Hall and knock on the doors, the mayor's house. And say, I'm a citizen and says, I want to know these facts.
That's a good idea.
And then have that answer when we get on his show.
Yes.
That fair?
All right.
Okay, we're
Sounds
going to
good.
take a short break and we're just going to. In fact, we just changed some chairs. How's that?
Okay.
You guys just get up. Rich, you can stick around.
Yeah.
Okay, once you guys get up, and thanks very much, guys.
Hey, well,
Nice
thank
seeing
you.
again. Okay.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you,
sounds
Bruce.
great.
You
So-
do this because you care.
Yeah, very much so.
You are watching Oregon Voters Digest. This program can be seen again on these channels on these dates and times. Tell a friend.
Okay, back. We've got a few minutes, and so we wanted to make sure that we talk a little bit about the vets. We got so many vacancies out. My point is, we've got homeless vets out there too. See, we still have them, but we're really improving along that particular line. I think it indicated initially that KAT News, I guess, indicated that we started out with 1,251 vets when it was on the high side. And now to date, as of today, 2018, they said something like 400. That's where they at. Now we got a guest here, Napoleon, and he's with the NAV Vet organization. very interesting organization. You'll know more about him because we're going to hopefully try to have him here at least once a month in the future. But the bottom line, we'd like for him to talk a little bit about the homeless veteran, and because he goes out, he knocks on a number of doors, and he's been sitting in seminars and whatever, and then they've talked about homelessness from the veteran standpoint. I know I have also too, but the bottom line, we got Napoleon. How you doing, Nick?
I'm doing quite well today. Thank you.
I know you're a busy man. He's a family man. He's a
I
former
know.
Marine. Yeah, he's a hard-nosed working guy. Trust me, I know that. And but the bottom line is that he said he'd come over, and so I'm going to give him a couple of minutes or so and kind of give us a little update on well, what does he know and knowledge on homeless veterans and where are we today? What do you think, Nick?
Well, I'm thinking that the problem that we have with homeless veterans could be solved a lot faster if they would cut out some of these regulations, because NAVETS, National Association for Black Veterans, we partner with different agencies to help homeless veterans. And basically these agencies are skilled at identifying them, but they're having difficulties finding them a place to live, a place to be. Now, your previous guest in the other segment had mentioned about alternative housing, empty buildings. You know, you have also told me about empty county building that they have,
yes.
and
Which they
basically
should have
there are
kept.
resources out there, but they're being kept from the people who can actually put them to use. Now, I go to homeless shelters and I go to homeless agencies 4 times a month besides my work downtown trying to help veterans in their with their benefits.
Right.
And for example, I'm going to name them off because I want people to know about them. We have Transition Projects. They help out with veterans homelessness. We have Fort Kennedy, helps out with same thing, homelessness, emergency assistance. You have Do Good Multnomah that operates homeless shelters.
For veterans.
Yes, and these are all for veterans, and all these agencies are working hard. Their staff is very dedicated. We send people to them, they send people to us. We're all nonprofits, but then they're all handcuffed by the fact that there's a lot of constraints on the grant money that they receive. They have a lot of rules that they have to follow that some of them are quite ridiculous. And even when you identify the homeless veterans, even within the VA system itself, there's a large segment of veterans who aren't even being counted because they have discharge that are other than honorable. So according to the VA, they don't even count. See, so
That was in the paper.
right. So when you have a big chunk of people who aren't even being counted, and then you have a lot of agencies putting handcuffs on people who are trying to help these veterans, you end up with a problem that's underreported and it's under. I'll say these veterans are underserved.
Okay.
So agencies like NAVETS, we can refer people to these organizations 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and then when they get there, there's a bottleneck because these agencies have either they have the constraints that are put on them by the government rules or the grant rules, and we have a couple totally that are private agencies who are constantly trying to raise money so they can help veterans. See, so these are things that are just kind of make the problem harder. So any person who is going to be in the mayor's seat, they're going to have to look at more than just throwing some money here, throwing some money there. They need to make the process easier for the agencies to help the veterans.
Well, you know, we have a swamp. You know, we still have the swamp we have to deal with. see, so that's why it's so important. That's why we made the point about and stressing the fact that this race is going to be very, very important for the Portland metropolitan area. Big time, because all seats are going to be available. And we're trying to get the best of the best, if you will, to be there in those seats. Very important, because they've got some hard work to do, got me? Then, like I said, they got to deal with the congressional deal, because we got the presidential race and this, that, and the other. That's a heavy piece. But fortunately, for the veteran standpoint, at least some of the things are being taken care of. Some of the guys are being taken care of. Because when you look at that number, the 1,200, 1,251, and now we're looking at 400. And that number sometimes is deceiving. You know, there's all kinds of situations or whatever. But the fact of the matter is, you're right. And so we need to make sure that we get the right leadership in there that can put pressure on that congressional delegation that we have. In fact, I noticed that today, and on Steve Dunn's show, Channel 2, Your Voice, Your Vote routine, Steve had on the whole issue of the coronavirus aspect of it.
Yeah.
And he asked folks from that swamp to come and interview, and they were all running for election. And the only person that made some sense was a gentleman by the name of what am I thinking about? I got his name right here, Greg Walden. And again, from a political standpoint, he was the only Republican. Everyone else was Democrat. So realistically, he had the layout, the update on what was going on with the coronavirus. He had that layout from President Trump, because President Trump had the sheet. See, he's in charge of the piece. So he basically laid out, this is where we are with the piece. The other folks were just kind of like running for office. So we got a problem with the swamp, because everybody's just kind of trying to run for office, and we don't have the real deal.
But see, another thing too, Bruce, let me interject this. Even the agencies like NAVETS and the people that I mentioned that
Right.
we work with,
Right,
push us out the political side. We just want to help veterans.
right,
And
right.
like I say, anybody who's in that seat, they need to open their minds to other possibilities.
I agree.
And actually try to help out veterans.
agree.
Even with the matters of coronavirus. Right now, everybody's in a panic. And they forget about there's common sense measures that you need to take care of. Now, NAVETS, we do have an emergency management piece as part of our organizational structure. And we're educating our members on how to actually react to the coronavirus, how to take care of yourself, and don't need to run out and buy 50 tons of toilet paper from a local store, but basically it's common sense to this. So we got to get past the panic, get past the politics, and actually work to get something done. Whether we're talking about homeless veterans or coronavirus or just taking care of our city, right?
And man, and I appreciate you said that, because see, nothing is being mentioned or said about homelessness folks, about washing their hands. Where do they get soap and water? You got me?
There are homeless veterans.
No, not beyond that. I'm just saying, just regular, just homeless folks.
Okay.
And some of which happen to be there. But my point is that nothing is being said for them. Where do you go to throw off all that old clothes that you have on, take a shower, clean yourself up?
That's right.
And where you get no one has said anything about homeless folks.
Well, see,
in that piece.
I sit on the Multnomah County Veterans Task Force and
Right.
on the executive committee as well. And somebody actually proposed an idea of having, at the very least, common sense hand washing stations, putting up hand washing stations within the city so that anyone can walk up and use them.
Right.
Like you say, homeless person, they can just walk into their bathroom
That's
and wash
right,
their hands.
that's right.
There's no bathroom.
That's right.
But if there's a hand washing station
That's right.
that's being maintained and have a lot of them around the city, well, guess what? You have another step, common sense step, in taking care of coronavirus.
Okay.
See, so now we're proposing it. Now we just see about how to pay for it.
Okay.
The state of Oregon just declared a statewide emergency. So maybe the funds can come out of there. But there are some things there, but you haven't heard about them. 'Cause just like you say,
right.
you haven't heard from them.
Get to your board and get someone, and we'll have them on next week.
Okay,
If not that, you can be the representative. We'll talk about it. You got me? Okay, good. Well, I wanted to make sure I got you on, which is good. We got that
Right,
piece on
right.
with the veteran aspect of it, and we got another idea. I mean, the fact remains, and I was going to make that point. I'm glad you brought the piece up, because the homeless no one's talking to the homeless about their soap and water. And if they got this idea, fine, let's bring it to the table, because right now it was just an idea that was tossed out on the table, but you got to follow through with it.
Right.
And so please get back to your board now.
Okay,
We're going
so
to put it on you
we're talking
next week.
about that. Okay.
Next week. Okay, fine. Folks, thank you very much. We're right at the end of the show, and hope you enjoyed it. Please pass it on to your neighbors, and we're going to solve these problems. Take care. Have a good one.